Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Hermann.
Hello, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I am your host, Lois Hermann, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate everyday people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today I have a question. Have you ever just said yes? Well, I'm talking about saying yes with your heart, your mind, and your soul or spirit. Have you ever made a commitment to God to be of service to others? Today is all about the energy of just saying yes. Now, I do know there's such a thing as overcommitment, on learning when to take a pause or how to embrace the phrase, not now. But when you just say yes to your version of God, you get tested, your life changes, and miracles happen. Many years ago, I was a medical professional, a manager of a large imaging department who was well respected and very good at what I did. Yet privately, I was extremely traumatized by a very disturbed husband. After many years of horrific abuse, I escaped from this intensely negative relationship. It left me crippled with incredible fear, self-doubt, and a complete lack of self-worth. To get away from this stalker, sanctioned by the courts, I disappeared in the middle of the night and relocated across the country with my 2 young children and no familial support. Although publicly I had a secure career, inside I was scared and unsure about how I was ever going to raise these children on my own. I asked for guidance, and I trusted that I would be led to a new life. I just said yes. And through a series of miraculous events, I met a woman who would help me to transform my life into one of confidence and success, security, and peace. At the time, I managed to move into a house with a ghost, and my life has never been the same. Now, this was no scary ghost. It was the spirit of a brilliant mathematician named Judy, whose escape from abuse was to shoot herself in the head in my basement. I could relate to Judy's pain. At night, she would appear and sing to my 7-year-old daughter. And I learned that Judy's daughter was my daughter's age when she took her life. So I invited my new neighbors, a spiritual hypnotist named Agnes, and her friend Abba, a Catholic priest, to bless my home. When they came, they said, I needed to learn how to help Judy's spirit into the light. What? Me? I'm a medical professional. What do I know about ghosts? But I just said yes. Well, they told me what to do, and that night I lit a candle and had an imaginary conversation with Judy. I let her know that her daughter was grown, and this was my daughter, and I was going to take care of her. Then I invited Judy to go into the light. I had no idea what I was doing. I blew out the candle and went to bed. A few days later, I asked my daughter if the lady still came and sang to her at night. She said no, but there's a little boy. So that started my near 30-year experience as a spirit communicator, and I consider myself kind of a spiritual guidance system, if you will. With the help of the archangels, I help lost souls and other energies find their way into the light. And over these many years, I have assisted thousands of spirits to find peace and helped hundreds of clients find their peace of mind as well. Embracing the power of the amazing mind through hypnosis and spiritual awareness, my friend Agnes helped me to release the pain of my past and transform my life into one of self-empowerment and serenity. Based on both my personal experience and extensive professional training, I'm grateful to help empower many others to transform their lives. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. We're here every Sunday morning, and I hope you join us. So I have many stories of just saying yes, which has challenged my life and changed my life, empowering me to be committed to helping others shift the negativity in their lives. Then suddenly, 4 years ago, I was asked to help save the world from imminent destruction. What, me? Who am I? In a routine hypnosis session with a client who had some sleep issues, a group of high-level spirits suddenly came through him, and their powerful voices implored me to help share their message of hope with our troubled world before it's too late. I was dumbfounded. They spoke with such a sense of urgency and strength that caused me to listen. I even invited colleagues to validate that these voices were indeed from the highest realms of consciousness, and they too were amazed. Now, I regularly help people change their lives with the power of hypnosis, and I enjoy connecting clients with their higher selves, passed over loved ones, angels, and guides, but the idea of me saving humanity was absolutely terrifying. I love what I do helping others, yet I'm a very private person who had just said yes to my concept of God many times over the past few years. So in my heart, I knew I had to accept the mission of bringing hope to humanity. I just said yes again. So, I'm now the author of the Chronicles of Hope book series. In these books, I share the actual hypnosis sessions that contain powerful messages to help us shift our energy and transform our lives to be more positive individually and collectively. And don't you agree that our world definitely needs a shift right now? One of the blessings of just saying yes is that other like-minded, positive people have been sent to help me in this mission. And I am truly blessed to be joined on this journey with my dear Team Hope. Together with our unseen helpers, we have published 2 inspiring books to help shift humanity's negative energy. Help us spread the word as catalysts for positive change. Mark your calendar for September 10th at 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm offering a free webinar to lift your energy in times of uncertainty. There will be tips based on the messages from the Chronicles of Hope and a guided meditation to help you shift your thoughts. You can even sign up to receive a signed copy of the book, Chronicles of Hope, The Collective. I have the very first one in my hand right now. You can register today at loisherman.com events. And you are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590 and 95.3 FM. Today, I am beyond honored to spotlight a powerful woman with an incredible story. She is the force of positive energy who helped make Chronicles of Hope, the Collective Book 2, a #1 international bestseller in 5 different countries. I am so excited to share her delightful energy with you today. It was her amazing story and positive encouragement that inspired me to tell my story, to really put myself out there in order to share these messages with you. Please help me welcome Rebecca Hall Gruyter, global influencer, empowerment leader, founder and owner of Your Purpose-Driven Practice, CEO of RHG Media Productions, and the sweetest light worker you will ever experience. Hello, Rebecca. Are you there?
I am. I'm so honored to be here today, and I loved how powerfully and beautifully you shared your story with all of us today. Thank you for the amazing gift of you and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for inspiring me to share the story. This is the first time I've publicly talked about that. I've given little bits and pieces, but listening to your story has given me the courage, because I know I need to put myself out there, and not because of me, but because the messages that I have been asked to deliver are too powerful to ignore. So tell us about you. I loved your stories, and I want you to share with other people. Please tell us about you.
Absolutely. Do you want me to start with a snapshot of today?
Yes.
And then go back in time? Is that
sounds
a good
perfect.
place?
That's
okay.
perfect.
Great. So looking at today, just in a quick snapshot, I so appreciate you sharing global influencer. That took me a long time to claim and own being a global influencer. And as I stepped into that place, really discovering, what does that mean? What am I to do with this influence? And so that also was part of my journey. And what I discovered is more than my voice is needed.
Yes.
Multiple voices are needed. So how we use this global influence, which includes radio and television and books and launching and getting cited in major media. And I was trying to think of all the different medias: radio, television, the internet-based programming, as well as podcasts we use, and magazines. We use all of these different mediums to bring experts and influencers and people with transformational information that the world needs, help bring them forward so they can reach more people. And that's how we're making the world a better place. And so we've grown our reach to over 10 million. We are honored to help bring experts and transformational information to the world that is just so needed. But if I go back in time, that none of that was on my list of what I thought my life would be. So if I go back in time, it starts as a little girl. I grew up in an environment that was unsafe. The people who were charged with care of me did not, and they harmed. And I was that little girl that just never ever wanted to go home. I learned in that environment that I was not okay. It was my fault. There's something horribly wrong with me that's causing this. I'm not lovable. I'm a waste of space. And that it is not safe to be seen or heard. So I strove to be invisible, and I covered the pain with a big smile and acted like everything was okay. Eventually, the truth came out, and I was rescued, for which I'm very grateful for. And I got to go on a healing journey. And here's some things I learned on that journey. One, I came at a great cost. It took a great effort and battle to free me from that environment. So I learned I had great value. I experienced love and what that really feels like. And so I was able to discover I was lovable. And I know what it's like to feel unloved. I know what both of those sides are like. And I discovered that it wasn't my fault, that I was actually beautifully and wonderfully made, that I mattered, and that it was actually safe to be seen and heard. And that was the longest and hardest part of the journey, because I think we know things intellectually. We know certain things, but that doesn't mean we live it. That doesn't mean we believe it on a heart and soul level. So that took longer to embrace, that it was really safe to be seen and heard.
And many people never get beyond that part.
Yeah.
It's what we've been taught as a child. That's what we were taught. Children are to be seen and not heard. Speak when you're spoken to. You have no voice. So you had a courageous journey.
Thank you. Well, and I look out in the world today and I see men and women that are still believing the lies, and that hurts my heart, and that fuels the mission of what we do. It's a very personal journey that I see it as a heart-by-heart, life-by-life opportunity that we have to echo out truth, that we have the opportunity to lift up each other and make a difference and support each other, because it is not a solo journey. We are all needed on the journey, and we get to walk beside each other. But I didn't go straight to believing that and acting in that way. I was very resistant and still scared. Again, it was one thing to know that I was safe. It was very different to know what that meant and how to live a life in that way. And so I spent a lot of my years hiding, and it was so severe that I could barely stand up and say my name in front of people, much less anything after that. My body would start to shake, and I would lose my words. I would turn purple. I didn't do red. I went right to purple.
Wow.
I would lose all my words. My ears would ring, and my throat would start to close up. So it was like my body remembered what went on before and was trying to protect me. And that carried on for many, many, many years. Part of how I learned to work through that was to, again, tap into that skill of acting like everything was okay. So I learned you can actually hide in the public eye. So you can put on a certain way, a certain look, certain clothes, even the words that you use, the language that you hide behind, all of that are things that you can use to create a shield around you. So you're sharing content, you're sharing information, you're in a role. But what I've also learned about that is it shields you. It hides you. We think it's protecting us, but it's actually keeping what you're sharing distant from others, because the way we connect is heart to heart. And when you're shielding all of that around you, you're hiding and you're creating a distance. So what you're doing is not able to have the impact that it could have. We have to be willing to take away all of that protective shielding that we put in front of us sometimes to portray a certain image or hide our heart behind.
Exactly. And that's what, many people have that public face that they put out, the persona that is a professional, is strong, is capable, but inside there's that wounded child that is just looking for protection. And it takes a bit of courage to be vulnerable and to peel those walls down.
Yeah. And it's a journey, step by step. So part of my step by step in that process, I had conversations with God, and I had pretty candid conversations with God. And I would say, okay, God, here's the deal. I will do this mean, hard, horrible thing. I feel like God was usually pretty clear on the step I was to take, whether it was tell the truth, take this stand, whatever it was on that journey. And to this day, He will give direction. And I would say, I will do this mean, hard, horrible thing you're asking me to do if it can make a difference for another. If another little girl's life will be easier or better because of what I do today, I will do it. And that was enough for me. And that gave me the courage. I loved others far more than myself. It took a long time to love myself too. And I would do that. And I would take that step. And every step of the journey, we would have that same conversation. What I didn't realize at the time is God was recording all of those conversations.
The great later. Record keeper.
Absolutely. Not only is every hair counted, every tear noticed,
yes,
and held, but your promises are remembered too.
Yes.
In those conversations. So fast forward, I was in corporate America, which I loved. I got to work with startup companies to Fortune 500 companies, working with their financial departments and retirement plans and training employees. And I really found that meaningful, powerful work, and eventually stepped into having my own business as an entrepreneur and my own practice for many years in that space as well. And I had a learning curve in becoming an entrepreneur because it's different hats that you're wearing.
Oh, yes.
I didn't learn all of that in school, so I had a learning curve there. But as I found my feet and was able to build the practice and serve people powerfully, I started to feel like here's the path. I could see how things were going to continue on. I was engaged. I was very excited for all the future it held, the sweat, blood, and tears that had gone into making the practice where it was and achieving what it was. All of that was beautiful and exciting. And then God started tapping me on the shoulder and whispering in my ear and in my heart and my spirit saying, it's time. And I don't know what he's talking about. I'm like, it's time for what?
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm a financial advisor. That was my identity. And he said, it's time for you to start telling your story. And I just stopped, stunned. What do you mean my story? That's not what financial advisors do. I don't want to do that. I don't know how to do that. So we had this ongoing dialogue. I even gave God alternate recommendations of people
Yes.
way more qualified that I felt like could do this far better than I. And he kept coming back and he kept coming back. And then he started playing those tapes in my head of each of those steps when we'd have those conversations. 9 months we had this ongoing conversation. And finally, I said, okay, God, I will do this mean, hard, horrible thing you're asking me to do of tell my story if it can make a difference for another. And I don't have to talk to more than 50 people at a time. I don't want to be filmed, nothing with a camera or recorded. I'll use a microphone because my voice isn't super loud. I can give there. I don't know how to make offers, or even really what to say. So you just gather the people, tell me what to say. Nothing with books or radio or television. I don't do any of those things. But I will tell my story. So let's go do it. I'm a yes. And there was silence. And I was curious about that. So I leaned in. I go, God, I said yes. And he comes back to me, and the response was, Rebecca, this is a yes or no, period. No boundaries, no contingencies. Will you go where I call you to go and share what I call you to share? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. It's your choice. Choose. Mm-hmm. And I knew if I said yes, this was a permanent yes. Mm-hmm. My life would change. I knew it was no longer what I had planned or envisioned. So not only was it a yes, period, but I had to trust and be willing to turn everything over to what that yes meant. Mm-hmm. And terrified, I knew that. On my knees crying, I said, and by the way, my fiance is observing all of this. I'm kind of like, what is happening? Uh-huh. And I say, yes. I said, but I really hope I don't have to. And I listed everything again just to make sure.
No TV, no books. No, here's my list, my contingency list. Wow.
And I leaned in, and I look back at that moment, and it was a very profound moment for me. I knew internally that it was a shift and a change permanently. And I also look that nobody was asking me to do television or radio or books or any of those things at the time. I imagined those as the scariest things I didn't understand that felt so vulnerable to me that I just wanted to say no to those. Mm-hmm. And as I fast forward to today, and those are things I do on a daily basis, mm-hmm. I love them all. And every step on the journey prepared me for the next. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
That's amazing. I shared with you that I have a similar situation with my husband, who was my fiance, when I got tapped on the shoulder, and he knew me as a corporate executive. And then all of a sudden we went down this path of spiritual hypnotist, and he's like, who are you? And he married me anyway. So tell us about the story of when you actually went and did your presentation. That's a fabulous story.
Oh, sure. I'm happy to. And I'm just going to add in, my husband, he did marry me. Just to be clear.
Yes.
But he does say you became much more, he uses the term woo-woo than you were when I met you.
Yes.
But he loves me, and I'm grateful.
Me too.
But as I look at that moment where I said yes, that I had just kind of shared and described on my knees, within a few months, I was on the stage in front of 300 people. So you can start checking things off the list.
Oh my
300
goodness.
people, live streamed. There were a group of us that were called to share a story, and mine was, we were each given 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you 7 minutes can feel like a really short time or a really, really long time.
Yes.
And for me, I was so scared. I was so nervous. And not only was I sharing my story, but there were more than 50 people in the room, and there were cameras rolling, like all of those things. And so I had eyed the exit. If I needed to leave the room, I gave myself full permission to keep myself safe, walk off the stage gracefully, and leave the room. And by allowing myself that, I no longer had to. I was choosing to be there because I also knew there was someone in the audience that needed what I had to say. And that was enough. Right. I thought, okay, well then I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to share and hope that it serves. And so I did. Knees knocking, scared, nervous. I wasn't quite in my body. I don't even know all of what I said. And the 7 minutes seemed like a very long time from my perspective. Got a standing ovation I never saw. As I got back into my body, became more present, and stepped off the stage, a line formed of men and women. And in the beginning of the line, they said to me a very similar thing. They said, "Rebecca, I was the one." So I must have said that somewhere in the presentation. I was the one.
Somebody needed to hear this, yes.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. And they would share what it meant to them and wanted to connect. And then the next person, and the next person, the next person. It felt like an endless line. I'm sure it wasn't, but it felt that way. Just more and more people. It was so overwhelming and amazing to connect with people in that way. And then it started to shift partway through the line, and they started to say, "Rebecca, I could tell you were scared." So apparently I didn't hide that very well. They could tell. But you cared enough about me to share anyway. That gives me courage. And in fact, this is what I'm going to do as a result of that. And one person after another shared very similar types of comments of what they were going to do as a result of what happened in that room today and what was shared. And that was really powerful because what I learned is, one, I didn't have to be willing. I'm sorry, I have to be willing.
Yes.
Let me correct that. Say that correctly. And see, you don't have to be perfect. See, you're perfect. Right. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. And the rest takes care of itself. You don't even have to say the right words. And the message still gets across. And what an honor to have an experience where you actually get to see the impact. I feel like we have a far greater impact than we ever get to truly know. And what an honor it is to have that moment where we are shown that we touched a life, that we, by being willing, we had an impact. And that was part of what that day meant to me, and encouraged me that I just really didn't have to worry so much about being perfect, having everything a certain way. All I needed to do was say yes, be willing, and take a step. And that saying yes, because it was one of those permanent yeses, everything that came to me during that period of time that I felt that prompting of the heart and the spirit, I said yes to. So that included 2 different book deals, several radio interviews. It also included a television interview on a cable TV show that I just still quite didn't even know how that happened. I was really nervous about. But I said yes because I felt that same pulling, the same call of my heart, and all of it was the same level of scariness to me. So you couldn't really scare me more at that time. I just kept saying yes and taking steps. One of those books ended up becoming a #1 international bestseller. It showed up on all these different platforms. So suddenly I went through from a kind of local presence to an international presence very, very quickly. Trying to step in and own being a best-selling author, what that meant, signing books at a conference. That showed up on the radars of a radio show network who had been watching what they had been seeing in media and some of the different visibility opportunities created by that book. And they called me up and shared that they understood the platform I stood for and wanted my voice to represent that on their network. And I remember thinking inside, I didn't say this to them, but I thought, platform? What's a platform? What am I standing for? I don't understand.
Yeah. Aren't those kind of platform shoes? I mean, what is a platform? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just kind of taking that in. And again, recognizing doors were opening that I never even would have envisioned. I would never have been able to open on my own. I didn't even know you could knock on those doors. I didn't know the doors existed. And
right.
but that willingness and that saying yes, each step led to the next. So the radio show, I did end up leaning in. I'm still doing a weekly radio show on that network. It's now syndicated on 10 different networks and listened to all over the world. That led to a television show, which then led to a television channel, which led to being the network director on Voice America for the Women's Channel, TV and radio, eventually to having my own television network, to launching a publishing program where we helped bring books forward as bestsellers, which led to having a publishing arm where we provide full-scale publishing services as well as help bring books forward as bestsellers. We are also helping speakers find more speaking opportunities, so we have a program that helps them do that. And all of these different pieces coming together help us make the world a better place as we bring experts and needed information to the world.
Wow. And all of this happened in, what is the time frame for this? Can you give us a perspective?
I was just trying to think. So I was on the stage in a few months, within a year, I believe, of that, year and a half. Wow. My hobby and empowerment hobby had become really big, and it was time for me to retire as a financial advisor. I sold my practice, transitioned into this 100%. And that, I believe, was in, I think, 2014.
Wow. So not that long ago. You've been on an accelerated journey. Congratulations. That's amazing. Yeah. And your energy is so positive and so palpable. I know that you helped, I had the experience with publishing. This is actually the third book that I've published. The first one was just a commitment, and I went through the process. The second one was the first Chronicles of Hope book. And I, with my wonderful team Hope, we did so much work to try and get it out there. This one, you have been quite the inspiration and the steadfast. When we were doing the whole media campaign to create an awareness for this book, and I was having snafus, technology, and you would just giggle and say, "Well, I think that the Amazon likes you. They're treating you very special." Anybody else would have been cursing, And I would just stop and think, wow, what a just a light, what a positive light that carried me through. It was not easy, but I'm a dutiful, follow the rules kind of person on one hand. And so if you tell me what to do, I will do it if it resonates with my heart, and it did. And I am just so impressed with how you held my hand. I called you many names during that phase. I called you midwife, helping me to birth this book baby, right? Yep, and just very much the mentor, the support, calling me. Probably it was like 3:00 in your time in the morning, and just being there to coach me through this process. And I want to let people know who are listening that you're listening to WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. This is Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, and I'm speaking with an amazing woman, Rebecca Hall Gruyter. And Rebecca, how do people find you? How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. You can go to our website, which is yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Again, that's yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. You'll find all different kinds of information, and there is a button there at the very bottom of the page that gives you an opportunity to talk. If you want to meet with Rebecca, you can do so. There's a button to do that, and we can have a conversation.
I know a lot of people now reach out to me and ask me about, what's the first step to publish a book? What should I do? And my recommendation to you right now is to definitely reach out to Rebecca and to get some insight, because this book needed to be global. It needed to go around the world. This is all about it's inspiring hope. It's bringing hope to humanity. And how can I sit with this when I listen to the news and I see so much unrest, and I'm sitting here with the secrets were given to me to share, and I would feel guilty. I need to get this out in a big way. And you very gently, nurturingly helped me to do that. And I am ever, ever grateful to you, Rebecca, for doing that.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor and a privilege, really, to be able to bring powerful books forward, and especially your book that is so transformational and so needed in the world. It's been an absolute honor to bring it forward and help it be seen and heard by so many. And I feel like it's just beginning. There's going to be it just continues to ripple out as more and more people connect in with it, and it gets a chance. They get a chance to read it and have it become part of their journey.
And I'm finding that the feedback that I get from people is everybody resonates with it a little bit differently. And that's as it should be. That's the message. One of the messages that came through is everyone needs to follow their heart, not listen to the masses, not follow. If someone's telling you this is the only way, walk away. You need to follow what your heart-mind connection is and follow your path. And so different people resonate with different parts of the book, and that was the intention, is different energies came through, and some really connect with Jesus, others connect with the God Ray, others with, of course, Mother Gaia. So it's the whole intention is to get it out there so that people can find what they need from these messages. And I know that it has helped me tremendously. And I wanted to ask you, Rebecca, to tell us a little bit more about what inspires you, and how would you recommend to have people, be inspired? What inspires you now, and what would you say to people to inspire them in the wake of all this mania that's out there? What would you recommend?
Sure. I actually have a couple of things coming to my heart as I sink into that question, those questions, and feel in. So one, I want to go back to when I first said yes, and I was on that stage for the first time. And I mentioned that there were 2 book deals. And here's something I learned really powerfully. One, they were both powerful books, great publishers, amazing co-authors. They were co-authors, so we each wrote a chapter. I felt like that was an easier step for me when I first was saying yes to things. And so I said yes to both of those books. One of the books published and was just released. I still have those books in my garage.
Yes.
And that hurts my heart because they're amazing books, great content, but they're not in people's hands and hearts,
right,
where it can make the difference. The second book I mentioned, that was the one that opened up all those doors and platforms. And when I look at what the difference was between the two,
right,
it wasn't the caliber of the stories or who was in it. It's what was done with it and how it was positioned and shared it out. And it was shared out doing a best-selling campaign, doing it in such a way that it opened up those avenues and those doors, and it was able to change the trajectory of my life, my path, and what I'm called to do and bring forward. So I'm sharing that for anyone who is called to bring a book forward, called to bring a message forward, however that may be. Be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. Be willing to get experts' support so that you can help your voice, your message, your book reach all the hearts it's called to reach. So I want to encourage you to look for those opportunities to share your message, whether it's in written form or a spoken form, or it's in how you are living your life, what you are echoing out. And on a daily life basis, we get to choose how we're being. We are echoing things out consistently, whether we realize it or not. And I think it's important we're mindful in that. What are we choosing to echo out? Are we echoing out frustration, anger, fear? Are we feeding that, pouring energy into that, and spreading that? Or are we choosing to stop for a moment? Not that we don't feel things, feel that, but then release and choose what we echo forward: love, kindness, grace, understanding, humor, peace. What are we echoing out on a daily basis, and how are in our daily lives, and how are we supporting ourselves so that we can stay centered, grounded, and choose to bring the best of us forward, the best of how we can be. So that's what gets echoed out in the world. And I know, Lois, I shared with you a story in a grocery store. Do we have
Yes, we
a
do.
moment for that?
Yes, we
Otherwise,
do.
I'll make it a cliffhanger. Okay.
No, go right ahead. We do have time.
So just an example of this that I have, that I always smile at when I think about it. So I was in a grocery store, and this was pre-COVID, so we were all clustered together. It was one of those days where technology was not working for the grocery store. They were having trouble with air conditioning. It was hot. It was a really busy day. The lines were really crazy. People were abandoning carts, and just frustrated. And I remember in one of my lines evaluating what was in my cart, how much do I want this today?
Yes.
And I just know I really do need it. So I decided, well, I guess my plans are changing because this is going to take way longer than I had planned and envisioned. So I took a breath and just decided to be. And that I wanted to add peace and calmness to the situation versus frustration or aggravation, because it can be frustrating when you're suddenly in that situation and you thought it would be 10 minutes and it's an hour and a half or so later.
Oh boy, yes. Yes.
And so, but as I'm doing that and kind of centering in and looking beyond my cart and kind of looking around, I could feel this really angry, frustrated energy. And I wanted to look, and it was the lady in front of me, and it wasn't directed at me, which I was like, "Ooh, good." But then I became, where is it directed? And I noticed it was directed at the checkout lady. And there was another person in front of this lady who was just really in very powerful energy, but very frustrated. And as I observed the checkout lady, because this is where I could see all her anger and frustration was being directed, the checkout lady looks like she's having the time of her life. She's checking people out, she's chit-chatting, she's bagging. She was very efficient and just kind of happily going along. And I watched that, and the more cheerful and positive she was, almost the more frustrated and angry the person got that was in front of me.
Poor thing.
And so I was trying to send calming energy. What can I do? Do I need to intervene? What's, should I stay away? What's, just observing.
Right.
And as the lady who was so frustrated got to where it was her turn with the checkout lady, the first thing she does, she kind of slams her arm down on the conveyor belt thing. Yep. And she goes, how can you be so happy? This is ridiculous. We have been in line for over an hour. It's hot. Nothing's working. This is unacceptable. How can you're so busy. How can you be so happy? I don't understand. This isn't right. And I remember the checkout lady looked at her somewhat surprised, taken aback, and tilts her head. And then she turns to her and she goes, "It's not busy. I'm just super popular today." And she smiled really big and bright and started to check her out.
Wow.
And the lady, isn't that amazing? So the lady is stunned.
Yes.
We all kind of laugh. It was so unexpected. The energy instantly shifted.
Yes.
And I thought, what an amazing gift. She chose her perspective.
Yes. And what an amazing woman. And that's what we need to emulate. We need to bring that positive, because smiles are contagious and infectious, and we've got to share that positivity. It's so important, and to hold that in spite of all the anger and the frustration that's going on. If we can just, each of us who are drawn to bring the positive energy, if we can hold it, we can shift this world, can't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we get to be such a powerful part of that by choosing. And I look at that. She had the best day of her life by choosing her perspective and influenced so many people.
That's amazing. What a great story. How did the woman take it then? The grousy woman. What did she do?
She was just shocked into silence.
And
we all kind of looked at her. And she didn't get angrier. It deflated, and she just had no response for that. Like, she just kind of
was incredulous.
Mechanically, went through the payment process and the bags packed and kind of scooted out the door.
It's amazing. Yeah. And who knows what kind of a difference that made for that woman. Absolutely. So what do you suggest to others to stay upbeat and inspired? Did you have any suggestions for us in this time of great chaos?
Find ways to pour into you to stay centered. What I'm finding during these times, especially, it's even more important we carve more time out. And it can just take a moment. We sometimes think, I don't have time. Well, I can assure you, when you're feeling that pressure, that's when you need it most.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel like you don't have a moment to spare, I want to invite you to take a breath.
That's right.
Just one breath.
Yeah.
And pause for a moment and ask yourself this question. I'll do it as if it's me. So when I'm cranky, stressed, feeling like I just can't handle one more thing, and that one more thing happens.
You get cranky? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it happens.
It does happen. Okay.
It's not my normal state.
Yeah.
But one thing I know is when I start seeing that myself, I know I need a timeout. I need to recenter. Something's going on.
That's right.
So recognizing that. But in those moments when you feel that stress, asking yourself, and so maybe it would be, Rebecca, are you being who you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And typically stressed out, frustrated, cranky, whatever that moment is bringing, the answer is no. Then the next question, the next breath, who do you want to be?
Who do you want to be? That's right.
How do you want to be?
Yeah.
Who and how do you want to be? And it's just with curiosity. And usually, well, I want to be calmer. I want to be more centered, peaceful. I want to feel like I have enough energy and space. And then I say, be that in your next breath. And somehow in those 3 breaths, it shifts. I have my stress levels drop down. I'm able to be a little more clear in my thinking. I'm able to choose how I step forward with my next step differently.
Absolutely.
And if I need to move something, I do.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So thank you. And for our readers, our listeners, you are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann. And I'm here today with Rebecca Hall Gruyter. And I so appreciate you. Thank you for helping make Chronicles of Hope, the collective, an international bestseller. And can you share your thoughts about the book specifically? Do you have anything that you would like to share about the book series, because you have read them?
Yeah. One, I really want to encourage listeners, if you have not read them, read them. They will touch your heart. They will touch your spirit. And they're going to impact you deeply and give you, I believe, encouragement, powerful information, and hope. And really give you time to reflect on and think about, how are you being in your life? What are you echoing out? And how are you interacting with other beings? How are you interacting with the planet? How are you choosing to be in this? And how can we shift that to a more powerful, positive place, so that as we do that and we come together, we're able to make a powerful difference in the world. So I want to encourage you, because I agree that everybody is probably reacting differently as they read the books, because it is very powerful, transformational information. But I also think what will consistently come through is a reminder that you are not alone, that you are cared for, that our planet is cared for, that we have an opportunity to shift the tide. So I also think it'll be very empowering as you read the books.
Thank you. And that is the goal, is to get people to move past their past. Like you and I both have had early conditioning and experiences that were less than healthy. And the messages that have come through these wise ones are asking us to stand in our power, to use our voice, to use our hearts, to give, to help one another, that we are all one, we're all connected. And it is not about giving money. It's about, just like the woman at the checkout counter, giving light, giving love, giving giggles, giving laughter, giving uplifting energy, because we are all energy. And how we show up, it's either positive or negative, or maybe neutral. And sometimes it's okay to be a little depleted. But if that's not your normal, be aware of that, like you said, and say, okay, what do I choose to be? How do I choose to be? And the messages in here, the roadmap for hope, the teachings of how to set your sacred space and to keep your energy clear, all of that is it's all given here, little recipes, little messages. And I've actually had someone, we've included the highlights in the back of the book. And someone told me the other day, I'm reading this, I'm using it like a Bible. I'm opening it up and I'm reading passages in the back that just, if I need a little uplift. And that was our intent. So I am delighted that that's what people are doing, that they're actually using this as a tool to shift their energy out of the situation they're in into where they choose to be. So thank you for helping to get this out there. And she definitely, listeners, she has a very strategic way of doing this, and is a very, very well thought out. And I'm very impressed with the strategy, and I'm delighted by the people who have bought the book over time. Are we coming to an end of our show?
In about 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Oh, that's plenty of time. Plenty of time. So I encourage people to please find the book on Amazon. And by the way, today, right this minute, today, it is finally on Amazon. Rebecca, we're going to celebrate this together, because it was the ebook was on and the soft cover was on, but it was not priced right. So I've been kind of waiting until they fixed it, and I just got notification that it's fixed. So people can go on Amazon and buy the book, the soft cover and the ebook. And we've started today. We started recording the audio book, so that'll be out next month sometime. But please buy the book, read the book. Give us a comment, a review, please, just so that others will know that this is meant for them. And I'm honored to have you here with us, Rebecca. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with people?
I want to really encourage people to be willing to be seen and to share your light. I, for a lot of years, wanted people to just by osmosis know that they mattered and I cared, and I learned it didn't work that way, that I needed to be willing to be seen on the same level that I wanted to serve. So I want to encourage everyone, anyone and everyone listening today, to be willing to be seen just a little bit more and stretch just a little bit more, because the world needs your light. Be willing to say yes to those opportunities, lean in, share, and shine.
Wonderful. Thank you. And do you have a favorite quote that you would like to share with people?
I was thinking about that today, because I know we talked about one
Yes.
the other day. And I was trying to find one from Zig Ziglar, and I wasn't able to find the exact one this morning, but so I'm going to paraphrase it. It talks about how you are exquisitely and wonderfully made for times like this, that you were made to shine. And so I want to encourage you to know that, embrace that, and be willing to shine out, share out your gifts, your talents, and your lights.
Thank you. And you have been listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, and my guest today was Rebecca Hall Gruyter. And you'll be able to find this on my YouTube channel, and you will be playing this on Sunday. So I hope you listen. I hope you have a blessed week. Until next week, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Thank you all for listening. Have a blessed week.